folks, man RichManZ back with another retrospective review. A big shout out to the Rich team. Thank you so much for continuing to liking these videos, commenting and sharing, and most importantly is to subscribe to these videos. As I said, we've got a big milestone coming up. We are not gonna run, we're gonna walk to 10k subscribers, but what you can do very much so to really help this dream become a reality is to keep sharing these videos all over throughout the land as we're trying to expand the Rich team all across the globe. On this review, as I advertised, we're going to be looking at a very, like I'd say, it's like a psychological thriller that came out in the 2010s, towards the end of the 2010s, starring of course the very beautiful, talented uber Beyoncé Knowles, and you've got like one of the biggest leading men, especially in the black community, actors in Hollywood. It Can Only Be Obsessed, that came out in 2009. Boy oh boy, obsessed, obsesiva in Espanol. To many, this movie is not really a movie that's very favorable. I'm actually have more of a kinder take in this movie, only because like I actually adore the actors, but it's a movie that a lot of people like trash, and they don't think it's like a great or even a good film. And the issues that really come up with is that they don't really understand like what was the motive for this type of, let's say, obsessive nature, and of course the interracial dynamics, of course, with the lead and also the starring of Ali Larter. I'll talk more about Beyoncé and of course Idris Elba. And psychological thrillers. This movie of course was heavily influenced by Fatal Attraction that came out in the 80s, which showed like a very obsessed, deranged woman who really wanted to kind of break up a stable relationship, and it was heavily influenced for this movie. If Obsessed, I first watched this was back when I was in England. This used to play on the BBC. They used to play this late, and I remember seeing it then. It was like split parts that I saw, and I recently of course watched it just in time for just before this review. And yeah, I'm very like mixed in this. I don't think it's as bad as like a lot of people. Again, you're gonna get my final thoughts at the end. But yes, there is a few highlights with some of the people's criticism with it that I believe, again, a lot of the issues it does tackle with like the story, and of course not exploring areas where they should go deep, because of course this is a real serious movie. This movie is not played for laughs. This is stuff that possibly really happens, where a woman can really get obsessed with a guy who's already happily married and wants to come in and take the forbidden fruit. Go on to the cast. The main, of course, principal cast is Idris Elba, Beyoncé, and of course Ali Larter. Okay, so Idris Elba, who actually is Sierra Leonean, who's actually a salon man. He's actually half Sierra Leone, half Ghanaian. That's a British dude also. I actually remember Idris Elba appearing in a few, like, let's say, cameos and a few you could say movies and TV series before he made it big. He appeared in Absolute Fabulous, which a lot of you are not gonna know, but this was a hit TV, let's say sitcom TV, like a comedy show that was in England, almost as old as EastEnders. And he also appeared in, of course, American Gangster, which was that, like, it was his first, you could say, big movie role, of course, against the great Denzel Washington. And I don't know when it was. I think it was like around after this film and into the 2010s. That's when Idris Elba's like career really started to blow up. He's now doing movies with Dwayne Johnson, Jessica Chastain, Kate Winslet, romantic films. I remember he appeared in The Office, which I believe that was earlier back. But it was around this time he just became this leading man, so much so that I'm crossing the fingers that he could be the names, if not the next James Bond, but you could possibly see him as a James Bond in the future. Idris Elba does pretty well in this role. This is an early version of Idris, just like coming into that leading man role phase, and he does pretty well. He's very believable. Of course, the ladies gonna love like Idris. I've always felt Idris, especially for like black woman, that is the stereotypical what a black chick wants. Again, Idris Elba has this height. He has the physique. He has the very face, very charming. It looks like a guy you wouldn't want to mess with also. So I think he's great in this role. So as much as I said like has good stuff for Idris Elba, the worst thing is I cannot say the same for, you could say, his colleague, the fantastic Queen Bey. Ona. Beyonce plays Sharon. So Idris plays Derek Charles, who works at this finance company, and Beyonce playing Sharon used to work at this finance company, and they end up getting into a relationship. They get married, have a kid, all that jazz. Beyonce is acting in this, and I've spoken. The Rich team has told me, and they said her acting is PU. Is not the best. I feel with Beyonce, it's just someone who, as much as Beyonce is talented and she works hard and she's very good, Beyonce always feels like she was always part like of a group, always a clique. There was always someone to be there to support her, or if she falls down, they can always catch her. You understand? She always had a family around. She had her best friends, of course, in Kelly Rowland and the other Destiny Child's members. There was always this type of support. So I feel like she just doesn't have that master of craft as Jennifer Lopez did. Jennifer Lopez went acting classes, where I think Beyonce didn't really do that. She possibly felt a lot of her scenes in movies were just like a big ass music video, and it's very apparent in this. Like when you do see Beyonce act, it sometimes feels like it's a B actor. Like this cannot be an A-list actor, especially in this film. It is very evident in a lot of scenes when it causes for like times to be dramatic and emotions. Beyonce just doesn't get it right. I have seen her in better films. Like I did like her in Dreamgirls, which was that was starring Jamie Foxx and Eddie Murphy, which I think she did way better in that movie than this. She starred in a movie with Cuba Gooding Jr., which was a decent film. Of course, Austin Powers. But Beyonce has not been in such a big amount of movies as opposed to Jennifer Lopez. And she's still young. She's only 40. So who knows? We could be seeing more Beyonce in film. But Jay-Z can let her out before her curfew. And the main obsessed chick is Ali Larter, who's playing Lisa. This is basically the fine ass white girl, the typical Becky, Michelle, Sarah you would see, and it's just, again, she's a very pretty girl who just comes into this company that they're in, and she automatically attracts the attention of Derek Charles, played by Idris Elba. Ali Larter, I remember seeing her, the first time I ever saw this chick was in a movie with Taye Diggs. It was a horror movie. I saw her, and she also played Claire in the Resident Evil series. And for anyone who's a fan of Resident Evil 2, that was a game for me back in the day in the 90s. Just a quick shout out. She does well in this. Her acting is way more believable than Beyonce, for sure. And the thing is, the film is so standard. It's such a basic film. It's just that you got this obsessed woman who really wants to ride Derek Charles, and her wife is just very much like a family woman, and she's not trying to allow this intruder to come and spoil the family. So it doesn't really take too much acting range. It's not as complex as some other roles that other actresses go for. But for what Ali Larter does, she does great. She's pretty much, and you really believe her. Like she was super obsessed with Idris in this.
On right now, it's like we were meant to be together because we love each other, right?
So Derek is pretty much working in a financial company, and as I talked about before, he had met his wife, the beautiful Beyoncé, Sharon, in there. She was working as one of the staff there. They managed to, of course, start dating, fall in love, they have a kid, and the opening scene actually starts with them actually getting a house, like fulfilling the American dream, especially for black folks. in there. So it's like everything is going well. Then just out of nowhere, this new temp comes into this company named Lisa, and they actually meet up in the elevator. Well, I always never got, and I know other people have said this, like it just doesn't. It just doesn't show so much like why she would be obsessed. It feels like maybe a scene was missing out or something, or like why just meet in the elevator that she just had to say like I gotta be with Derek. Ali Larter had to be with Idris's character, and I just wish there was pretty much more explanation like why she just gets obsessed. Because, like I said, if we keep it 100, like I know we've all bumped into like for me, I've bumped into a hot girl that I found is attractive, and vice versa. Maybe a hot girl has bumped into a hot guy, and it's happened. But sometimes, realistically, does it really go that hard to get that obsessed just to get this guy? They just don't give so much like info to the audience to why Lisa is so obsessed on Derek, and that's just something that mind boggles me. So as like she's as there as the temp, she kept on just showing hints and like laying moves and just saying like how she really finds Derek as like attractive and all this. Like Derek of course knows it, because I mean she's the hottest woman working there, but of course he never ever allows that door open. There was certain scenes, I remember when they're in the cafeteria in the company and she's crying her eyes out saying like I believe one relationship didn't work out, and then Derek actually comes to her, consoles her and say, look, if I was single for sure I would be with you. And that's as far as he goes. He just goes there as like a comfort, but he keeps it pretty strictly professional in business. But of course, Beyonce, especially knowing the guy she married, she was very, very concerned. Especially that scene when Beyonce brings the kid that they have, and they go in to see them. They goes to see like daddy at work, and then when they see this temp there, Lisa, like Beyonce is just like, whoa, like you gotta fire her. She's gonna leave. So she begins getting suspicious of all of Derek's moves. From side characters that I've got to mention, you've got Jerry O'Connell, you've got Christine Latty, Scout Taylor Compton, and Bruce McGill, kind of legendary. He was in The Last Boy Scout and also Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's one of Jerry O'Connell's one of his work colleagues, and Bruce McGill is one of his like higher ups, one of the higher bosses in there. So even they notice when the beautiful Ali Larter walks in. Again, as the story progresses, as I said, Lisa really tries to go again out of her way to get Derek's attention. So much like, I think the first time is when they have a Christmas party and there's this mistletoe up there, and she actually tells Derek saying like, if you don't kiss me, people are gonna think something's really going on. And he actually backs up. He goes into the bathroom and she follows Derek into the bathroom trying to get some. And he turns him down, and it becomes a pattern, so much that he keeps turning her down. And I think because of this refusal, it keeps turning her on even more. So much so that she actually comes into his car when he's about to leave off work, and she has pretty much a complete panties and bikinis. And I mean, again, a lot of guys, I swear, and I'll even put my hand, I've been in this situation of, usually when you get like a hot girl, no matter what ethnicity they are, even if you're married, it can be very difficult to avoid that temptation. You understand? But I really am, from the beginning he meets Lisa all the way to the end, he never wants to open the door. He was like, I got a beautiful woman at home, so why do I need to even engage in this drama? Because this woman is, of course, already psychotic. And speaking of psychotic, and I will speak more about this in the end, is they actually never ever get intimate at all. Even so much like a kiss on the lips, it never happens. And of course the racial thing, that's never ever talked about in this whatsoever. But there was never any scene of them like being intimate. But of course, like, it starts to get more intense. Like, Lisa keeps on knocking on Derek's door. It gets so much so that it gets to one scene that she actually kind of overdoses on, I believe, prescriptive medication, or she overdoses and she gets rushed to hospital because she was in Derek's room They believed, of course, Derek was already sleeping with her. Do you understand? And that scene, of course, when Beyonce came in and Derek handles that detective, and he has to explain that, like, well, what she was doing in your bed if there was no relationship. And Beyonce was like very firm about like cheating. She said her parents had been together for many, many years, so she does not come from a family who gets divorced or cheating. She does not allow it. Once Beyonce discovers this news that there is this relationship going on, she kicks Derek out of the house. So that nice house, that dream, American dream house that they got in the beginning, she kicks him out pretty much of their own house. And he basically, I believe it's for 3 months, he has to stay in the Four Seasons. He has to stay at the hotel and he has to come to see his kid. They do this whole musical montage where he comes back, and each time after they've had space away, Beyonce is like she misses him. And so much so, once the time has lapsed about 3 months, Derek says like he misses her. We should like get something to eat. He wants to move back. Beyonce, she says okay, she approves of it. They end up going to have dinner, and especially when they have the dinner. So at this time when they're having dinner, Lisa's gone. So after a while, after that time when she tried to overdose, commit suicide, she goes out of the picture for like about, I believe it's about 3 months, 3 to 6 months. That night when the two go out to dinner, she just appears out of nowhere, and there's a babysitter, and they left the kid at home. So Lisa, doing her dastardly deed, she finds a way to get the baby out. And of course, Beyonce and Idris don't know. Beyonce and Idris, Derek and Sharon don't know, because they're having a great time and a dinner that they haven't had in a while. So once they actually get home and they find that the baby's missing, they're losing their mind. Derek actually rushes into the car and he's about to like pull out, and he finds that the baby's in the back. I understand. So it turns out they're really dealing with a woman who's completely psychotic, and even Beyonce is able to find out completely that Derek was telling the truth. This woman was just completely off a rocker. Then after this goes pretty much towards the climax of the film, is you have like possibly the best scene in this film is you have a old throwdown between Beyonce and Ali Larter, two beautiful women having like a bitch fight. Yeah. So it's saying so like they have a crazy fight that goes from pretty much the living room all the way up into the attic, and like Beyonce pretty much gets the upper hand of her, and even so much that when she got the upper hand, and Ali Larter, so they're at the attic, and Ali Larter is dangling into where basically I believe it was the bedroom. Sorry, not the dining room, it was the bedroom, and they had this big chandelier. She loses her balance and is about to fall down to like a pretty bad fucking injury. And then like Beyonce actually holds her hand and says, no, you're crazy, but I'm gonna save you. Ali Larter was actually trying to take her down, and let them fall down and like into their into a big bad situation. So Beyonce actually kind of like wrangles her, and she is able to get free. She falls down into this bad, like I think it was this glass table, and then after like a while, the chandelier, that big chandelier that was there, falls down and crushes Lisa for good. And then by the end, like she's out. Idris comes at the end. Derek Charles comes at the end. He's able to pretty much console Beyonce, and that's pretty much the story of Obsessed. So before I give my final thoughts, of course, let me tell you about the soundtrack music. So the Obsessed like score, the main score was actually written by James Dooley. And of course that's just the score, which is a very like it is something again you've heard from Fatal Attraction, contemporary music that you've heard from, of course, movies like Fatal Attraction, even Basic Instinct of that female, you could say, fatale, trying to like break up and get away with it. It's also almost as classical music scores. Then of course with the soundtrack, you got music from Wyclef Jean, you got music from Sam Sparrow, you got music from Estelle, American Boy, which was a smash hit in the 2000s. I remember this was playing on Top of the Pops when I was back in England. You got music from Jolly Molly, Marcus Miller, Ruben Studdard, Tony Locke from back in the day, and you got Golden, and you also got Wild Cherry. You got music from Mariah Carey also. So the music, I'm not gonna lie, is nothing really to write home about. I'd say the standout track was Estelle's. I remember playing whilst like Idris Elba was driving his, I believe it was a Porsche or BMW, one of those like elite type of cars. But that was only really the only good soundtrack from the music, from the movie. But yeah, I mean, for the score, I mean, for what the film is, it works for what they were trying to do. Music tones are played at the right time and when it's needed to. All right, so my final thoughts with Obsessed. So if you remember in the beginning, I said that this movie heavily was influenced by Fatal Attraction that came out in 80s, Michael Douglas, and also Glenn Close. Alright. So with that film, that was a hit. That was a hit. And I believe the guy, Michael Douglas, of course, who appeared in Basic Instinct and another film, Demi Moore, was like the king in playing these erotic thrillers, like basically sleeping with crazy women. And of course, I put keyword sleeping. Where this film is very, of course, subpar to Fatal Attraction is that Lisa, who again has so much, is so wet to get with Derek, she never actually gets with him. As I said, she never actually fucks him. There's no kiss, there's no, even the time when they were in the bed, like, it's never shown on camera that they actually got intimate. And that's where the whole story pretty much unravels, because Derek for the whole time is telling the truth, and Derek in this film did absolutely wrong. Did absolutely nothing wrong. You understand? All the advances Lisa made, again, this hot girl is working under you, is making advance after advance after advance, and he kept on turning her down. Do you understand? It's like everyone should have just listened to him. The only probably slight on Derek Idris Elba's character is that he should have confronted, of course, the bosses and told them that this girl keeps advances. We need to let her go. He should have been more firm. But I believe again, maybe at that time he just thought it was like, it's flattering. It's hot girls like it. So he never really took it seriously, of course. When it came to the end of like she's coming into their house unannounced and kidnapping their baby. But that's what really lacks this film is that thing of like they never actually tested it. And of course, and I said this movie was made pretty much before the whole social media boom. And when you think of social media, the pioneers of that, of course, were the Kardashians. People don't understand this, and I'm in my 30s now, so I remember this time well. This time, it was still very uncommon to see a black man with a white woman. When a lot of people remember this time, like a famous black man and a white woman, it was unfortunately O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson back in the day, Tiger Woods, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. So it was always like negative, let's say, connotations for like a black man to be with a white woman, especially a successful black man with a white woman. So you wasn't seeing that. When the social media boom came in 2010 and you saw Kim Kardashian, again, a voluptuous, fine woman, and she's pretty much with black men, everything changed after that. You started seeing more like, even in the Hollywood beauty standards, if you see how Ali Larter is in this, that's how the typical pretty much Caucasian woman used to be, like blonde, very thin, possibly big breasts or that. That was the archetype of females in Hollywood or in entertainment. Once the Kardashians rolled in 2010 and they were thicker, they were more voluptuous and that, everything changed in that. And it's like you had more women who had more of these curvaceous bodies, like Beyoncé who's in this, like Kim Kardashian, like Jennifer Lopez. So you started to see more like high, let's say, successful black men with white women, like pretty much after this film. By this time, and this pretty much what is the pretty much downfall of this movie is they play it pretty much too safe at this time. They still didn't really want to see, like, again, a good looking black guy like Idris Elba being intimate with, like, let's say, one of their own, a beautiful white woman in Ali Larter. And this is what really F's up the story, because as I said, for this whole, let's say, affair or for Lisa to say like, oh, Derek loves me and all this, but they never got intimate, it just makes no sense. And it goes and ties onto the main thing. What got Lisa so obsessed to say that this man, I must have him at all costs, when she just met him in the elevator. They just only watched. It shows that she was only working as a temp for 2 weeks, and with all this time, she became obsessed with him. I mean, come on, yeah. I think it needs at least a little more time than that. So it's like the motive, and also because they don't really touch so much on the interracial relationship here. Because as I said, it's never mentioned. It's never mentioned about like Idris is a black guy, he has a black family, and then Ali Larter is like the whitest American girl. They never ever mention it once. Never ever touching it. There's no kissing, there's no sex, there's no nothing. And it's played completely safe. So, and that's like I said, and that's why I just think really hurts this film. It's a film I believe could have had a lot of potential, maybe if it was made now, where it's now in this era where it's like, it's okay. Do you understand? Like I said, there's no problem for like black, not even black and white, but just for different ethnicities in like, again, a big budget film or a film of this stature. If it was made now, it would have been no problem, but in 2009 it was still very tough to see again a successful ethnic man kissing like a white woman or having scenes, like intimate scenes with them. So that's what this movie suffers. Of course, Beyonce's acting doesn't really help in this film. This is a film, of course, which is dealing with like super real subjects, but it doesn't help. Of acting just feels like she's just filming a big ass music video in there. So yeah, so I mean, like, but with that being said, I could honestly say this film as a time waster. Like anytime I watch it, it's something that it's not so like terrible that thing, because there are good scenes in this. Like I do love the idea that Derek has already assumed that family man position. Like he's very focused in his work, and again, all the times like Lisa kept knocking on his door and she wanted to like do the nasty with Derek. He turned her down every single time. So there are those cool scenes with them. I think the fight at the end is pretty excellent also, but and that's probably only the highlights. But when it talks about recommending this film, again, I believe it's a film couples can watch. I think it's not that realistic, because I don't think, of course, in this world, especially in this day and age, again, if there was a hot girl like that working at your place and you were married and you did kind of succumb and you went, it's not that you're gonna just keep on like turning her down. You're either gonna go fully in or just not do it at all and just not let that happen. So it just doesn't have that realism like Fatal Attraction happened, or even Basic Instinct, where you had this crazy woman that the, let's say, protagonist gets intimate with and then he needs to put her away. Whereas this film, the protagonist never gets intimate with like the crazy chick, but then you have this whole story of that, oh, it's mine, I'm not a homewrecker. It's like, where did this come from? So that being said, that's my review on Obsessed. Again, if this is a movie on, and especially if I'm, you know, with my chick, it's a cool film to watch. It's a time waster, but it doesn't have that realism to really take it seriously. Like even when I've seen Fatal Attraction, and it's been a while since I've seen that, it just has more of that grit and like the consequences that can happen of like stepping out of your marriage, and of course stepping out with a crazy chick. So that's a film I would highly more recommend than Obsessed. That is my review of Obsessed that came out in 2009. What did you think about my thoughts? What did you think about this film? What did you think of Beyonce's acting ability? What did you think of Idris Elba? Pretty much early appearances as a leading man. What did you think of the crazy fine chick Ali Larter? Put it down in the comments below. With that being said, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Definitely follow us on social media. And by my watch now, it's like just heading to 5, it's just coming to 5 o'clock. It is the end of March, the end of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah. What are you waiting for, folks? Get your paper right and update your wallet. And Richie Rich is out.